Sorry about that. Hi, welcome to the Wheel of Fortune. My name is Sherry Lynn Longwell, and I am the reader here. I had jumped ahead of my camera. I'm going to do a special reading. I'm going to do probably a two-part reading. The first part is going to be your past life. So this is a past life reading. The Chariot is going to be very relevant for both of these readings that I am doing. The very first thing that I am being drawn to is the Lyrians, the lions. Okay, these are guardians. You see, he's standing in between the guardians. So you may be somebody who is connected to the Lyrians. So let's get into this past life reading. I'll be right back. Okay, now that I've sorted out the cards and I figured out what they're saying, okay? In your past life, all right, this is a suggestion, entertainment purposes only. You were given the gift of material wealth. That hand, it didn't matter what you asked for, what you did, you had it in your hand, okay? We have a king out here. Now, this is a man. This is an archetype of a male. The card on the bottom of the deck that I was told that represents the person is also male, and the first card out is male. So this is a man I'm talking to. Okay? You are a very wealthy king. You are very stable. Okay? And fights broke out amongst the people like they do. And you tried to control the situation with logic, truth, and understanding, and diplomacy, and trying to alchemize the energy, right? And it turns you into somebody who speaks hard truth. The fighting wouldn't stop, no matter how much you tried. The only thing that worked was speaking your truth. Now, I also feel like that this reading, even though I said it's for a man, is also for a woman out there somewhere with masculine energy. However, things didn't change until you started speaking your truth, whatever that truth was back then. And because of that truth, it balanced out the situation. See the pinnacles, earthly things. It balanced out the pinnacles, and it brought you in more material gain. All right. And because you found your truth and it brought you in more material gain, whether you were a king or a queen, you're showing up as a king of pentacles, okay? And this brought you a spiritual download of intuition. This conflict, because you had to go through it, because you had to learn to speak up and be a diplomat and speak hard truth, you got downloads. It taught you something, okay? And it taught you how to uphold the world back then. Your world was the world, and you upheld it with truth and diplomacy. And then you met her, or him, or vice versa. And this person came in very abundantly. not just in energy, but in knowledge and wisdom and an understanding too, and in material things. All right, they were very wise, they were very abundant, they were very attractive. And she filled all your cups, or he filled all your cups, every one of them. Broke some illusions that you had in the process. She was the empress, or the emperor. She was the empress, okay? She brought you passion for this truth. And you became the king of swords instead of the knight of swords. The diplomacy, right? She, the empress, embodied the queen of cups, the nurturer, the mother. So you probably had children with this person. It was a very stable home, very copacetic, very pleasant. You were known and a pillar in the community. You worked well with others, or she did. Like I said, this person brought you wisdom and abundance. That's the empress. Okay. Give me 1 second. I have to pull more cards. So, somewhere along the line to rising as this King of Pentacles and King of Swords, you became sad. You became greedy. You became loathsome. Okay. But you also turned into a major authoritarian. So there's the Emperor. I'm telling you, this reading's for a man. And you were into some pretty dark stuff. Like, I get secret organizations, underground. And you can tell me vampires don't exist all you want, but Proverbs 30:14 through 16, go read it. It talks about them. So you got into some pretty bad stuff. But you rose to the top. You became the legacy. See the two dogs? They were guides. So you rose to elite status in your past very quickly as a man or a woman. I'm not going to say it's just for a man, even though that's what I feel. And you met someone, a King of Cups, could be male or female, and the Empress wasn't getting her cup filled. There wasn't enough to go around because you were doing so much. Or doing too much. Alright? And because of this, she found someone else. You had a vision that only you could see. Nobody else understood it. And I think they called you crazy for it. As people usually do. Give me 1 second. They're telling me sword cards. You worked very hard to rise to the top, to where you became this authoritarian, this emperor, this king of pentacles, and this king of swords. Okay? You met a king, probably got you into all of this stuff, and there wasn't enough room to go around. So, she found somebody else. And that brought her victory in her life, not yours. It brought her passion. It made her the Queen of Wands. Not just the Empress or the Queen of Cups, but the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Passions. I swear I hear Lancelot. Listen, friend. And she also gained a lot of hope for the future during this time with this person, which also gave him a lot of personal pull and a personal power. He might have been a brother or a family member, but he had a lot of personal pull and he had a lot of power. He also could have been, like I said, Lancelot, a knight. And something happened that tried to put this star in this Eight of Swords energy. Okay, notice how she came out fighting. They weren't expecting that. And judgment came down upon you pretty hard. And this was after all your wish fulfillments came to pass. Not only did you get betrayed, you were taken out. That is part one to the then and now. Stay tuned for part two for the now.